I started teaching at-risk teens a couple of years ago, actually right here at Ulster High School, I had just turned 40 and was finally out to everyone in my world and comfortable in my sexuality. Some people were still confused by the way that I chose to identify, but I was comfortable. That was until I met this teenager named Alex. I had just come out 4 years earlier. At the start of my relationship with Julie, I'm 36 years old, and Julie is the first out woman that I've ever dated, which means I have to come out too. Before her, I had openly dated men and very secretly dated women. But I can tell from the very beginning that Julie is a catch, and I don't want my fear of coming out to destroy our chances. I get lucky. When I tell my dad that I'm dating a woman, all he says is, "All I've ever wanted is for you to be happy." When I tell my mom, she asks, "Is it Julie?" I don't know how she already knows that Julie is the one, but she does. I'm a little bit more nervous about telling my little Spitfire 94-year-old grandmother. Granny had been married to an alcoholic and understood the devastation of addiction firsthand. I inherited my grandfather's genes and luckily for me was able to get sober a little over 10 years ago. Granny wholeheartedly supported my recovery. While she was alive, she came to every AA celebration and after would say, "I have no idea what any of those people were talking about, but congratulations." Now we're driving together and I've decided today is the day. I'm waiting for the right moment. I tell myself, after this corner, I'll tell her. Oh, after this red light. After I go down this hill. The right moment never comes, and I know I have to just do it. Granny, I have to tell you something. I'm dating someone really special, and I just want you to know before I introduce you that, well, she's a woman. Granny sits in silence for a few seconds, and then she asks, "Does she drink?" No. Well, that's good. End of conversation. That's it. As soon as Granny finds out that Julie isn't a drunk lesbian, she's all in. When my mom confesses to her friends that I'm dating a woman, they all respond with the same surprise. "Oh my God, I didn't know Eva was a lesbian." But my mom's even more confused when she relays their responses to me, and I reply, "I'm not a lesbian, Mom." Oh God, Eva, I'm so confused. I'm clearly happier than I have ever been before. Yet my mom still expresses concern for my well-being. I'm beaming from ear to ear, freshly in love, and she says, "I just want you to be happy." I am, Mom. Well, I just want you to have an easy life. Mom, have you looked at the statistics for life with a straight man lately? The infidelity, physical and mental abuse, the rates of divorce, it doesn't sound so easy to me. Oh, Eva, you know what I mean. I'm your mother, I just worry. And I do know what she means. She's thinking about the times to come, getting off a plane in any state besides New York and California, and being reminded with the first steps into the airport, oh, right, people think that we are freaks. That there will be many times while traveling when one or the other of us will fear for our safety. Julie and I officially start dating in February of 2010. I've already booked a trip to Jamaica, to the Jamaican coast with friends. I keep dreaming about having her there with me. We talk on the phone so often that I rack up a phone bill for $3,000.
Wow.
This is one of the legitimate downsides to dating a woman. A man would never stay on the phone. Anyway, this place that I'm calling from, Treasure Beach, is a place that from the very first time my feet hit the sand feels like home to me. The thought of spending time here with my new love is at first dreamy, until I imagine how we will be received. Immediately, a sense of fear and dread takes me over. I return home and express my concern to my therapist, who, by the way, also now thinks I'm a lesbian. I'm afraid to travel to some of my favorite places, I tell her, in the midst of my tears about my feeling of safety in the world being stripped away. My therapist exclaims, "You can always go to Provincetown." Are you serious? Yes, have you ever been? My husband and I go every summer. We love it there. Yes, but I'm talking to you about not being able to roam the planet freely, and your suggestion is a square mile of a 24/7 gay pride parade? She later tells me in another session that her daughter has been given a questionnaire at school. One of the questions is, do you know any same-sex couples? She goes on to explain that 6th grade is too early to introduce that kind of thing. She doesn't realize that what she's saying is, my daughter isn't old enough to know about people like you. I spend my session explaining, listen, same-sex couples should be introduced to babies at birth so that they can, just like opposite couples, the idea should be reinforced throughout all the grades, starting in preschool, so it can become normalized, not something that needs a level of maturity to understand. But like many, I think she had been thinking about describing gay sex to a 6th grader and not having a conversation about love. I know that, like my mother, she actually cares about me and supports my new relationship. She just lacks exposure, and so she says stupid shit sometimes. I just don't want to pay $125 an hour to set her straight, no pun intended. She suggests that I see a lesbian therapist. But I'm not a lesbian, I tell her, and it takes another $125 to explain that one. I'm not in denial or confused, I'm just bisexual. I think perhaps by now in 2016, the topic of bisexuality is passé. Homosexuality hasn't been considered a mental illness since 1974. But just recently, in 2014, there was a cover article on the New York Times Magazine titled, "The Scientific Quest to Prove Bisexuality Exists." There's actually a study going on to prove whether or not I exist? That's nuts! Especially considering we may be in the majority. Do you know how many married women have confessed to me that if something were to happen to one of their husbands, they would choose a woman next? How many men have enjoyed being with a woman but have also been with men but out of fear call it drunk instead of bi? I married Julie in June of 2014. She is, without a doubt, the love of my life. And I have to admit, despite how mad I was at my former shrink, we spent our honeymoon in Provincetown right in the middle of the crazy summer, and it was the best vacation we've ever had. It would be easy to welcome the identity of lesbian, even though it doesn't feel like it fits me authentically. I'd have a lot less explaining to do. But from what I've learned, the best thing I can do for my relationship and myself is be exactly who I am. So to be clear, I was not straight when I was with men. I'm not a lesbian now that I'm married to Julie. I'm bisexual, and that's that, I think, until I meet Alex. Before I start the job at an alternative high school, I'm afraid of the homophobia I'll encounter among this rough bunch. It turns out all my assumptions weren't at all justified. They're all questioning their sexuality. Many of them have a girlfriend one week and a boyfriend another. They all talk openly about their sexuality and the excitement and confusion that comes along with it. Alex, a gender-neutral girl, is a regular at our writing workshops. I'm not bisexual, she explains. I'm pansexual. Pansexual? What the fuck is pansexual? God, I was afraid of being judged, and these kids speak a language I'm not even familiar with. I hate thinking that I must sound exactly like my mom, but my curiosity is beating out my desire to seem cool, and so I ask, what's pansexual? Well, it's like when you like everyone. You're attracted to people for who they are, not their sex or gender. So you can fall in love with a man or a woman, a drag queen or a transgender person. Oh, what's funnier than that is the look on Alex's face when I say, oh my God, I think that's what I might be. So here it is. I'm coming out to all of you here this afternoon with my new identity as inspired by the next generation. My name is Eva, and I am a gay man trapped inside a woman's body with the spirit of a drag queen, living a committed, long-term lesbian lifestyle relationship with a woman who identifies as part lesbian, part straight man. That's my truth, and I'm sticking to it. But I think I'm going to wait a while before I try to explain it to my mom.